Hey everybody, what's going on? Claudio here. Welcome to another episode of the Creators Lounge. So glad you can be here. If you are on YouTube, watching live on YouTube, feel free to add where you're coming from. I'm going to look at the chat here on my left. So give me a second to set this up to look at it. Also, if you are watching on Periscope or Periscope to Twitter, feel free to retweet and send it over to your friends and have them watch it live. So if you have not been here before for Creators Lounge, is this just something that I put together? This is the 5th episode. And what I'm doing is basically gathering friends and people that I know that have kind of a not necessarily have to be a creative person, but in most cases they are. But talking about the creative process and how it they approach it in different aspects. So it could be some folks that are artists, people that create with their hands, make things, musicians, photographers, videographers, cinematographers, and all sorts. So pretty excited about launching this again. It's just the initial infancy stages of the show, and if you are watching on replay, thank you for watching it. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. You can also catch up with my other content that I share every Tuesday. I release a new video basically sharing tools to help all of you individuals, educators, entrepreneurs, students to tell your own story. So different tools, digital tools that you can use to do that. So if you subscribe and then hit that little bell to be notified for future videos, you'll be able to see this live one pop up and set reminders, but also see the other ones and just have conversations about creativity. And so with that said, I'm super pumped about today's episode. You're in for a treat. A while back, I would say, trying to do the last 2 months has been crazy, so it's throwing off like my whole timeline as far as uh, trying to figure out years and months and stuff. But I want to say within the past 2 years, maybe, I got to meet my next guest, and it's a husband and wife team. Are amazing. I'm going to kind of show you here. You can check them out. Grundler Art. They are just super awesome individuals, and we got to meet actually at over dinner, which was really cool. I think it was Benny Hanna, if I'm not mistaken. Benny Hanna, and it's always good when you get to eat at Benny Hanna. It was so awesome. So let me go ahead and welcome them here, and let's have them join me here. Hey guys, how are you?
We're great.
Claudio, we're doing well. We're doing well.
Awesome. So Matt and Laura, they are in, is it Plano, right?
Yeah.
Plano, yes. So we're in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So if you're not familiar for watching my stuff, I'm in the DFW area. So it's the Metroplex. So I moved out here from California, and now it's like 14 years, I think. I'm doing the math in my head. Yeah.
We've got you by 4 years on that. We moved from California too.
We did talk about it. And so DFW is just huge, a Metroplex. So I'm like on the west end, I think, and they're kind of like on the northeast.
Northeast, so, yeah.
But you know, it was an awesome event that time meeting you all, and through a mutual friend, Jennifer Williams, and yeah, I think since then you just always when you meet individuals, and when I got to meet you all, you just instantly connect. You find the commonalities, and you just kind of, man, these are good people. I just love it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks, Claudio.
It's I would say it's not. You can't always say that about everybody. It's that just happens. Not trying to be mean or anything, but yeah, it's just salt of the earth, folks. So thank you for coming onto the show and being my guest today. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a chance here to kind of let people know who you are. So kind of give you the floor here to.
Yeah,
that was quite an introduction.
Your social handles at the end, but go
sure.
Give us like little history of you all.
So when we were little, we were born in.
Okay.
Not
that far back.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll hit the fast forward button. So my name is Matt Grundler, and my handle is ArtGuy76 on Twitter, and
it's Art Grund.
Grund76.
Somebody's already had your handle on Instagram.
Can you believe that on Instagram?
But
and I've been teaching for I've been teaching K through 5 for 14 years, and have been teaching middle school for the past 2 now. And so
so both artists met in art school in college in Colorado, took a detour to California, then came here to Texas, and somehow we got married along the way.
Yes.
But
when we moved to Texas, we got married.
Yeah. So but I taught middle school art and then high school art. And then, as my mother said, I moved to the dark side and became a campus administrator. And actually, I'm really glad I did that. That was a really important part of the path for me, the journey. And then my life just felt weird not having the arts as the central component. And I became the arts coordinator for our school district. And I work with a lot of K through 12 art teachers and principals to support the arts and promote the arts and advocate. And Matt and I started on this social media journey just to help other art teachers actually about 5 years ago, but that's ballooned into helping any teacher that's interested in creativity whatsoever. So we do some things on Twitter, and we have our little podcast called The Creativity Department. And we just continue to want to support teachers that are looking to infuse creativity in their classrooms.
Yeah, it's just if you don't, I think I'm here. Let me flash their website again. If you and I know actually I don't think I flashed it, and now I'll flash it there. I think they said they're going to update their site, but it still looks great.
Yeah, we're a little
we're a little behind.
No,
it's kind of crazy. Like,
I think we're all kind of busy at this time.
Yeah,
it's weird how you're busy but not busy all the time.
You're at home, but you're super busy.
Yes, yeah. So check out their website. Incredible stuff. And you know, like I mentioned, you guys do a lot with helping other art educators, teachers in the arts, and just really promoting it. And you know, we were, in fact, last October, we were down in New Orleans for what's called ISTE's Creative Constructor Lab. I hope it happens again. I don't know.
I do too. It was so good.
That was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So I got to go to the first one in Seattle, and then New Orleans was incredible. I've never been there. So we were all hanging out there. It was just a super awesome event. It's very intimate, and you really had a chance to rub elbows with a lot of people and just really get to talk as opposed to like the huge conference.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like,
and the fact that they were all creatives, like that was what was the best part for us, is that, you know, and when I say creatives, I'm just, again, talking anybody who values creativity in education. And they were everybody from tech people to art people to design people to CTE. I mean, it was anybody and anyone who just loved the idea of infusing creativity into their classrooms. And it was a really good experience.
Absolutely. And if you are watching and listening, ever get a chance to go, definitely check it out. And again, I don't know if it's happening. COVID totally threw a curveball.
I think for everybody.
To everything happening. So ISTE got the ISTE main conference got moved to like November, and so normally the constructors lab one is like October, November. So I haven't heard what's going to happen this year, but if you get a chance, definitely check it out. I'll definitely, if I can get to go again, I'll definitely be there. It's definitely worth it. Like you said, you don't have to be like, when you say creatives, you don't have to be like, well, I'm not an artist. I'm not
right.
I'm not a photographer. I mean, I want to take it back. It's like, well, most people have this in their hand.
Yes.
Yep.
And are taking photos. So, you know, you are a photographer, and you may not be a classically trained photographer,
right?
Like a musician, but but you are capturing moments. You are, so that in essence, you are a photographer. You can capture moments. You can share stories, and the whole thing about being a creative is I think a misnomer. Maybe let's talk about that for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, listening, I never thought, I'm not a creative person, and I can't draw to save my life, and I think it's a myth. I don't say I think it is a myth.
It is
It
a
is
myth.
myth.
Absolutely, it's a myth.
That you're not creative because you can't draw.
Yes.
So,
We wholeheartedly believe that is a myth. Drawing is not the only element of being creative. It is one element of creativity.
Neither is painting. Neither is.
I mean,
there's so many that you get labeled as, oh, they're so arty, and that gets labeled as being creative, or they're, or they draw really well, so they must be, creative.
Actually, I've had kids that draw really well that aren't creative at all.
Mm-hmm.
They can render like nobody's business, but there is not a creative idea coming out of their head. They can copy, and they're really good at it, and they have great rendering skills, but not necessarily creative.
I think the biggest fear, when I've, like I was saying earlier, I've taught kindergarten through 5th grade and now teaching, middle school as well. The thing that it really comes down to with being creative is that it's a skill. It's something you have to continually practice. It's something you have to build into part of a routine. If you're going to be an athlete, you don't just immediately grab a ball or immediately do something and step on the court and be like, yep, I'm that person. I'm awesome now. I can, do whatever you're going to be doing. And that's always interesting conversation to have when I have a lot of sport kids that come in and they're like, oh, well, I'm just a soccer player and I'm not,
But they're creative on the field too, because you have to plan. That's the whole thing I see on there that Dan said, Wicked Decent. He said the worst myth ever. Well, it is. Creativity ultimately is about problem solving and thinking in unique ways. Like that's ultimately what it's about. I've seen very creative coaches on the field coming up with crazy plays on the fly. I've seen creative motivators and creative chefs. And, it's about solving that problem in a unique and different way and looking at things and slowing down and working on how can I make this work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned something like coming up with stuff on the fly. And that's, I think, where if it's been nurtured, absolutely, obviously if it's been
that's
nurtured,
the habit.
I use my daughter, for example. I use my kids all the time and they're like tired of it.
We do too.
We get it. We understand.
Oh, we'll talk about ours soon.
It's just a good case. You're just it's a white paper. I have a thesis going.
Yeah, totally.
But, so like my daughter loves to cook. She loves to bake, and she'll watch YouTube stuff, and then she'll look at recipes, and sometimes like she doesn't have all the ingredients here. She has a lot of ingredients, but not like she'll be missing something, and then she's like, okay, I don't have that. I like something to say, I can't cook anything. I can't do it today. But somebody's like, well, I'm missing this, but let me see if I can substitute something else. And then she'll start kind of like researching, flour, and it's like, okay, this flour acts this way, this flour acts that way. They start reading about, okay, maybe let me try, see what happens. And sometimes she'll do these little cupcakes in a mug, like she hasn't made me one yet, but
she's trying to perfect it.
Maybe for Father's Day, Claudio.
And so I was like, how did it go? I was like, I didn't like it. I like the way it tastes. I'm like, where is it? I threw it away. I was like, well, but the thing is, it's like the trial. And then what I love about what she does is that she doesn't get discouraged. She's like, okay, I'm going to try again. And I think that's the key. You kind of said it, is that you're nurturing. You kind of build it like an athlete. I think of like one of my favorite baseball players. He's passed away, Tony Gwynn. He was just an amazing hitter, but he studied his own hitting. Like he if you think about the time when there was camcorders and VCRs and tapes and TVs back then, well, I think they said that because of him, they started recording a lot of more hitters in the team, not in general, but they started like they built a media room for him so he can watch his movies, and he like slow down and like, here's where, and I'm like, dude, you are like an amazing hitter. I don't know why but he was critiquing his own work, but I
But
think
that's it too.
that's
That building in that reflection time.
yeah.
Like we talk
I
a
mean,
lot
I
about
think,
this.
well, it's funny. I think about it because both of my brothers are, high quality, world-class CrossFitters, and they are constantly, and I know when I was dabbling in it for a good couple of years, I was actually filming myself and sending it to my brothers and saying, hey, critique this movement, critique this lift, critique, how I'm doing this. How do I make it better? How do I make it, make it move smoother? And so that's always a conversation that Laura and I are always having about our art, about our kids, and saying, hey, what do you not like about this? What do you think if you were to do next time? What would you change about it?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and really looking at the process. I mean, the product is important too, but looking at how did I get there, and almost retracing your steps and thinking, did it work? Did it not work? And building in that failure is okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the cupcakes are not always going to turn out, but you're going to try again.
Yes.
And the next batch is going to be better. That's. I mean, and you can call it whatever you want. The creative process, design thinking, all of that. Ultimately, it's just this cycle of going around and around with, the article we wrote recently kind of broke it down really simply, but it's this idea of look and think, plan and create, and reflect and share, and then do it again. And that's really, if you break it down, the simplest way for like a little one. That's
anybody, really.
Yeah,
I mean, especially that level of fear of, I'm not creative fear. If you break it down into small enough where you can kind of process it without just kind of, jumping in full head on, you're kind of, if you're going to tiptoe into it, then, it's almost a little bit more
manageable.
Adjustable.
Yeah. Flexible.
Yeah. So.
That's funny. But Dan, I'm just to show that the cupcakes are not always going to turn out. That is Pinterest.
Yeah. I love that Dan's on here. Dan's a good friend of ours.
So
yeah.
But you kind of as you were talking about the blog you were talking about, and I'm pulling it up right here, and I'll share it here shortly. But with regards to what's going on, with social distancing right now, with COVID, what. Before we jump into that, but how have you been, and maybe that's, I think it's in the article on the blog, is how have you been nurturing or kind of keeping your creativity afloat during COVID and during this like school closure? I've been working from home for the past few months, and there's times when I'm sitting here like working, I'm like, oh God, I need to do something like creative. I was like, okay, I need to stop. I was taking like my little Yoda character, my Darth Vader stuff, and like taking pictures, like doing like a whole studio style photo for just a toy. But I was like, I needed an outlet. I needed something to kind of break the monotony of, like zoom here, zoom here, zoom here, zoom here.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing for? And I need, like, I think we're kind of towards the tail end of school. Like my daughter's already out, but like, let's think, what were you?
Well, I mean, we just finished Friday, so, or at least grades for me got turned in. I know Laura's on a full-time contract, so she's there, still going.
Yeah, I actually went into the office today for the first time in a long time. It's really weird, but that's side note. So actually we wrote a 2-part blog for Adobe. It's been kind of fun. We've had some opportunities with Adobe lately. And the second part really covers what you're talking about, and hopefully that'll come out soon. But we managed our family and our creative outlets one way, and then we kind of managed school a little differently. Okay. But we spent a lot of time with, our kids made their own pizzas every Friday night. Like that was what we looked forward to at the end of the week, every week.
Family movie night. We did family movie night and make your own pizza. Yeah. And so we bought the dough, the mix, and then from scratch. They got to, mix up their dough and then put whatever toppings they wanted to on it. So.
And so we did that. And we probably talk about journaling in every single article we write, but we journaled, have been journaling. I think Matt's been doing some amazing journaling, really reflective, emotionally charged journaling pieces.
What?
Well,
Oh,
I mean, I don't want
well,
to put, he's been like, it hasn't only,
I mean,
only been COVID in
it's
our
not,
lives.
yeah, it's, you know, there was a lot that was going on with personally in our family life. I mean, my dad passed away in February. And then we had about a month later,
Our beloved Labradoodle
4-year-old dog passed away, had
It
some
was,
health issues.
so we had
and
some really hard events along with COVID. So
and things to kind of reflect on. And I think that's kind of an important piece. It's not just reflecting on, did it look nice or did it turn out okay, but also just kind of your own personal check-in. You know, and I know that Laura and I together have actually found ourselves creatively connecting with other people, even more so through our social medias than just, you know, our weekly Twitter chat. I mean, Laura did this in the blog post, as you're showing right now, did this prompt for
hope.
Right there.
And so
it can get pretty heavy and get pretty weighed down, especially if you're watching the news every single day. It's just kind of like, what is going on? And so it's kind of becomes these things for you to really look at that silver lining.
And well, I kind of had this idea. We journal all the time, and somebody on Instagram that follows my journals had asked, do you ever do creative prompts? And I said, no, but I will if you want me to. So, and then I was watching the Today Show, and Drew Barrymore was on there, and I love her. She's just adorable. And she was talking about this army of optimism. And I was like, okay, we're going to do, it kind of inspired me to do the journal prompts right then and there and get it done. And so I came up with 2 different versions, and I had Matt sit there, and I'm like, okay, we need 31 hope-filled journal prompts. And then I also want to do one that's A through Z. So I'm like, either they can take it, to just give you a different kind of spin on it. They're not exactly the same, but, and they're a little bit abstract, which is, I think, a nice way to think. You can think about those words any way you want. And you can either write in a journal, you can draw in a journal, you could take 31 photos that express those statements. A journal doesn't have to be me sitting down every morning and writing in my journal while I drink my coffee. That's not how we journal. My journals are more almost vivid and paint based, and Matt's are more textual, and he does these characters in them. They're very different, but whatever you do, it's something to give you an outlet that helps you manage your world around you. And we build journaling into our art curriculum starting in about 3rd grade, so that we teach kids. I mean, I always say that SEL is the original, art is really the original SEL curriculum. Like,
it's always been that way. It's just the things that you choose to focus on about it. Sorry.
No, it's true. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, in really watching Matt go through some of these hard things, like the way he has managed it all is he takes time out for himself, especially in the evenings after the kids go to bed. He has a giant journal. I always give him a hard time because it's like 11 by 17. It's huge. I wish he had it right there. And then I've got like my little tiny journal. Yeah, my little, and I'm like, my whole point is, does it fit in my purse? So
hey, I put a handle on mine so I can carry it around like a briefcase.
It looks like a briefcase, but just giving yourself that time to process what you're going through, and that's what art is. It's this, yes, I'm not going to deny, I believe that art is academic. Like, there are some really important pieces to it, but I just think we have to make time to process the world around us in some form or fashion.
Well, and especially now with all the things that are going on, we have to process it, because if we don't, we're just going to kind of fall into this trap and, of just burning ourselves out.
Yeah.
I like that when you mentioned those 31, the 31 prompts, and then the A to Z is, when we say journal, and like you said it, you instantly think, because I grew up in the 80s, went to school in the 80s, so a journal was written form. It was just like drilled into you. The book report is a written form, an essay is a written form. Or now it's like, there's so many different creative ways to share that thought. Like, if I thought hope, like right now when you were talking, for me, it's like, okay, if I were to go take a picture of hope, it's like, for me, it's like look for a blue sky picture, myself, either my daughter or myself standing, looking up, and just clear blue sky. And that was like, for me, hope. That would be like hope.
Yeah.
But in someone else would be completely different. But I like that idea, that approach, like doing it, journal it, doesn't necessarily have to be written, but photo, video. I think that's the whole like aspect of bringing it into the classroom. The creativity is not limiting the way a student will show their understanding by
exactly
the prescribed way.
Yes.
For us, that's
that becomes our platform. We talk a lot about how we have to not only break down the creativity fear for kids, but we've also got to break it down for teachers. To be able to say, okay, how do I assess this in this particular class, or this particular, how do I assess a drawing for a math assessment, or a history assessment, or whatever that is, does that carry the same weight? And I think if the student can be able to explain it and say, what, this is my interpretation of it, and if the kid meets those standards that you got a rubric for, I guess I don't see where the
they
problem
master
is.
the standard. Like, so. I always think of I'm going to talk about our kids now, Claudio. Yeah. So we have three kids. They're going into 8th, 5th, and 3rd grade next year. So,
and something we've learned over COVID.
Yeah, they all learn. I mean, we knew they learned differently, but like really spending time with them and watching them go through online learning. So our oldest is, he's huge and tall like us. Like he's already 5'10", and he's going into the 8th grade. Yeah. And he's got that awkwardness because he's so tall and he's young and gangly. And I mean, there's just those things. But then you layer on top of it, he's ADD like his dad. And Matt's diagnosed with that. I'm diagnosed with dyslexia. So he gets the double whammy of the ADHD, the dyslexia, and then he's left-handed and dysgraphic. Wow. So, but guess what? He is a theater kid. Like, you put that kid on stage or you ask him to tell you a story and he's got it. Like, he loves history. He loves being able to listen and talk about literature in his ELA classes. But he has to be given other ways to show what he knows, right? He's not going to, typing is even hard a little bit for him. So it's all about using the dictation tools and video and, but he's still mainstreamed. There's nothing about him like cognitively. It's just, he has to find tools that work for him, but he needs teachers that will allow him to express it differently. So, I think that's been interesting. Online learning was not good for him. He needs people. Yeah. He needs hands-on and he needs people. Whereas our youngest really was okay with it for the most part. She also has dyslexia. Our middle kiddo, she thinks she's weird because she doesn't have it.
But I guess what was really interesting though is like, we would take different days to really just sit down and work with them one-on-one throughout the day, just to kind of get them through their assignments. But it was interesting because we would go from explaining more or less, it was kind of the same context. It was the same, we're talking about Texas history and blah, blah, blah. We're talking about, math carrying over decimals or whatever it was. But it was really interesting because you would go from talking to one kid, explaining something and it made sense. You try to explain it that same way to that next kid and it's not even close. And the kid's just like, huh? And so you had to figure out ways to really be able to explain the same concept, but in a different way.
Yeah. So no, that's I can imagine the challenge, the 3 of 3. So my kids, my son's 22, my daughter's 15, so she's going to she's gonna be a junior now. The whole COVID, she's very independent, and she's I think I shared some of her art with you all. She's just Dad, can you order these I'm gonna say it wrong and she's gonna be upset at me. These special type of paints. Gosh.
Wash.
There, see, I already messed up.
Gouache.
Look, it was like, can you order these? And I was like, yeah. Look, it's like, and I don't mind. It's like, yeah, you're doing, this is your passion. I'm gonna help
Mhm.
support it. But she's very independent. It's like, just order these. They come in. She goes off and goes to draw. It doesn't work. Every once in a while, she's like, I'm stuck with this question. And then you start, like trying to decipher the questions. Like, my science went up to a certain point. After that, it's like Google,
Yeah.
the math was at that point. But she's done great. And the funny thing is, I asked her about, it's like, because she did so well. It's like, would you prefer like school like this? She goes, no, I'd rather be in school. I miss my friends, I miss being there. And she does enjoy going to art class, so she misses that. So but
And some classes might relate. I was just thinking when you said that, we've talked, all the art teachers and I have talked about this. Art is something you really have a community around.
yeah.
And like you do work with, like, I mean, I can think about all of my art classes I've had in high school and college and so forth. And when you're in this community, you're feeding off each other and you're getting their feedback and you're talking it through. And you know what, if you're stuck right then and there, the instructor can come and show you a different technique.
Yeah.
Or, it's virtual art is not the same.
I imagine it was challenging.
Yeah.
It was challenging. She had some assignments. She had to do some illustrations or drawings of paintings, and I forget the frequency of when she had to turn them in, but she got them done. But yeah, she just misses the community of art, and I totally agree. I think that's when when school starts up again, I don't know how it's going to be. If certain classes, we need those classes to be in person, or I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to happen, but whoever makes that decision, that's
good luck to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hats off to be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the blog here, and it's just so much great stuff here. I don't want it to go back up here to the keep it simple thing.
Oh yeah. So
Keeping it simple. That is a struggle.
So the keep it simple applied in all areas of our life during this. I would say the first 2 weeks we were going, like, trying to do it all. And I can remember Matt and I getting in a huge fight one night after the kids go into bed about who was supposed to do what and who was helping which kid and who wasn't helping and what the priorities were supposed to be.
Oh,
and
that happens to you too?
Yeah.
No.
So this June it'll be 18 years we've been married, and I mean, a good marriage, you gotta have that. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
You
and not be
out.
afraid that it's going to come to an end if you do.
So we kind of had one of those blowout conversations, and it was like, okay, we are doing too much. All of it's too much. Like we're being too hard on ourselves, and we've got to figure out an easier way to do this. So I think at that time we both said keep it simple.
Yeah, that happened on like a Saturday, and then we sat down as we do with our family, try to do once a week as a family meeting, and we said, okay, we need to create a schedule. And we created a schedule, and not that we were doing work every single day or, every single second of every single day. We were devising, okay, we work for like 3 hours, and then we go on a walk, we go have lunch, and then we come back, work for another 2 to 3 hours, and then we go outside and we go swim. We're lucky to have a pool, and so we go swimming.
So everybody agreed on it, and it made the schedule made it a lot more simple. And then we had to think about the work we were doing through our jobs, and so our district, I've been in the district 19 years, and I just love our district. And they really were thoughtful about how they approach things. But we had a template, a one-pager that we used for lesson plans, and it was really strong and really good. And we held to that. But at the same time, I felt like we needed something more simple, and the parents needed something more simple, especially for art. Because there's a fear around it, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not an artist, I can't teach art. And so I don't know. I was sitting up, I did a lot of non-sleeping those couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I was sitting up trying to figure out how to make it easier. And I said, okay, this is it. And I kind of stole from design thinking and just made it a little bit more user-friendly. And I said, first we're going to look and think, which would be, that the empathy and define. And then I said, then we're going to plan and create, which is your ideation and your creation. And then reflect and share, which would be like your test and prototype and test and retest, So I tried to break down the creative process into 3 steps for our teachers. And I said, so we're going to have one column that is look and think, and the next column is going to be plan and create, and the last is reflect and share. And it really made everybody just kind of have like, I remember sitting with the art teachers and they're like, like it was like this, okay, that's much easier. And, and for parents, the feedback we got was like, oh, thank you so much. This is so much easier. So, we gave kids some art to look at, or a story, like for our littles, storybooks to listen to make connections. And then we asked them to think about how they were going to put things together, because we knew kids didn't have.
Yeah, that was the other challenge, was you don't know. Yes, you can create an amazing lesson plan, but if you don't know what one kid has versus what another kid has, then it gets really challenging. And then you kind of pull MacGyver, reference of the 80s. If you pull MacGyver, where you've got a pine cone and a rubber band and a lollipop wrapper,
and make smart out of it. But really that's kind of what we were doing. And what was hard for a lot of the teachers as we were talking is that they're so media driven, as in terms of like gouache. I'm supposed to be teaching a lesson on gouache, or I'm supposed to be teaching a lesson in clay right now, or I'm, and I kept saying, okay, let's think less in terms of the media and more in terms of like, what would the problem solving be if you were teaching that right now? Like if you were teaching sculpture right now, what are you really trying to teach them? Well, you're trying to teach them about depth and height and building form instead of, flat 2D surface, and how to stack things and all of that. So we really had to shift our thinking and make it about the process less than the product, which is something we've been moving forwards for a while. But it just, that simplified lesson plan idea of just let's break it down into 3 steps helped so much.
Yeah. And I think you could totally apply that to a ton of other stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We kind of chatted a little bit earlier today. It just makes me think, my woodshop teacher, life philosophy, that this was a woodworking tip, but I apply it to a ton of stuff. It's just measure twice and cut once. And, it's like, think twice before you speak, and check it over before you turn it in, or think twice before you hit enter on that keyboard, or before you submit that, before you enter that tweet or whatever it is. Just
before you send that email to that person.
Keep it simple, definitely, especially during this time, social distancing and COVID, and summer's coming up with parents out there who maybe like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's like, you think, what did they do before in summer? But a lot of the daycares aren't open right now. So I think here in Texas, maybe I think I saw that they're
opening up some daycares and some camps.
It's going to be interesting. It's just going to be interesting. So I don't know. So some things that parents can do while they're home, and the older kids take care of the younger ones, just to keep them active and I love video games. I mean, there's a lot of thought, Minecraft is out there. There's a lot of, there's a ton of creativity behind it. It's like my kids, they're 22 and 15, and they play together, and they're in these worlds, and creating
our C2, our
I
eighth
created
grader and our fifth grader.
I created this art piece in here. I created this house. I built this house. I'm like, what do you mean you built this house? And you guys got these stories, and I got these stairs, and so there's a whole thought process behind it, and the planning, creating, reflecting back. Well, I can't have this door here because if I open it, I'm gonna fall out.
Yes,
yep, exactly.
Stairs out there, so there's a whole thought process, and people who are thinking of there's no creativity behind the games, but definitely there's a lot of thought behind it, and definitely if like summertime, if your kids are Minecrafting, that's a great.
We agree.
It's kind of interesting, Claudio. The few times that we've gone out, out in public, of course, with our masks and such. We've gone to Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I've just kind of perused their crafting section, if you will, and saw like these design and building kinds of things where you can that comes in a kit, and you can create it kind of however you want to. And I think that was the kind of interesting thing is I saw more and more of them coming off the shelves, because I think a lot of parents were like, when they're done with their schoolwork, then what?
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of interesting though, seeing like those Tinker kits and those, or Tinker crates or whatever those, that online kind of thing where it'll ship to you, and seeing those box kits, those making things, those
Kiwi & Co. is one that looks really awesome. I haven't tried it. I'm not promoting it. I just, those kinds of things.
The extension to that learning, where it's kind of a little bit more science driven, or it's a little bit more
STEAM.
Math or STEAM or whatever it is. It's just was kind of interesting, something that I just happened to notice, that there were more and more kind of coming off the shelves. So
even like people who were jumping on to do live stream, people were like, well, I'm home, I can start a live stream show. I can start that's what I did, but I had a lot of my gear already ahead of time. But a lot of people that were reaching out to me is like, hey, Claudia, I want to start streaming. I want to start doing this. Okay, you need this, you need that. And they're like, they're out of stock, or they're like, oh my God. I said, I was like, maybe it was 100. No, well, they're like charging 300 price gouging or whatever. But I was like, but it's just a lot of stuff in a good way, I think, caused a lot of people to like explore other avenues to be creative, and you mentioned like the boxes, and I've been meaning to go get one of those little model kits, those cars. I used to do a lot when I was a kid, and I was like, that's a good, I need to go pick that up again. Just doing that, and I got I have a air spray or air gun or whatever, but compressor and a little airbrush. There we go. So that's
we know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You said and I knew exactly what you meant.
Like sound effect. So this is definitely stuff. If you're with school being out, and how to keep promoting creativity, and definitely check out the Grundler art site. We got a ton of stuff, and then I linked that blog in here, and just definitely. So this is the first part. So there's another part coming out.
It's a 2-part blog. Yeah. Apparently, we were asked to write one blog, and we did kind of some fun things with Adobe this month. It was really fun. And so we did a lot of different things, and I took the lead on the blog stuff, and I just wrote so much that they're like, it's too much for one blog. So they broke it into 2 blogs, which was nice. And so one is more centered on creatively managing your teaching and that in your classroom online, and then the other is more centered on creatively managing your family and your kids and like all of that. And it talks, there's that point where I talk about giving yourself grace, and it's okay to live on coffee and creativity. For a while, we were living on coffee and creativity and prayers.
A ton of that. Yeah, I would say I love the way coffee smells, but I just don't like the way it tastes. I wish I could. My wife, she loves coffee.
See, I was a late convert. I was very much the same way. I liked the way it smelled. It had that nice aroma to it. And I was always making it.
Yeah, he always made it for me, but he never drank it. And
then probably 4 years ago.
It was right before you were diagnosed with ADHD. You started drinking it, and you're like, why
do
am
I feel different?
why am I calmer? Like, why can I focus? And so then that was one of the things that helped you figure it all out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's funny.
That's really neat. Yeah, well, definitely check those of you watching, go check out their stuff. It is top notch. You guys are. I'm looking at the time, like we have been chatting for like 40 something minutes. That's amazing. And I promise not to keep them too long, but just
if there's any questions, anybody?
Yeah, I was looking. No, the first couple of shows we had a lot of questions. I think it's just I think people are working all day and they probably get tired.
Yeah, totally.
But I need more creamer. No, Claudio, you need more creamer.
That's true.
I used to say I would drink coffee with creamer. That's kind of like the way I do it. But yeah, creamer would probably. We do get creamers. I end up going buying creamers for my wife, and it's like, yeah, maybe I'll try some more creamers.
You definitely have to find your flavor.
Yeah.
I've kind of created this crazy hybrid of flavors, and it works. And for Laura and I, we seem to really like it. So.
Another moment of creativity.
Yes, I was going to say, I did have one year. It's like, and I say it's a memorable coffee. It was I was in Atlanta for a conference, Ron Clark Academy, and we're familiar with Ron Clark. So there was I can't remember, Caribou Cafe, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's Einstein Bagels. They
Caribou bought out the coffee at Einstein Bagels. So we buy that too.
We went there for one of the mornings, and like everyone's getting coffee. I'm like, well, I don't want to feel left out. So I was like, and they had this one, I forget what it was called, but I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. So it was coffee. I don't know how much espresso or shots, whatever. It was coffee, had hot chocolate, and it had Snickers like crumbs in it.
That coffee?
Yeah. And I was like, this is good. It was like, so I guess technically it wasn't just coffee, but it was like a concoction. Whoever created that was pretty creative. That was actually good. So
I want to say thanks to Becky on here. She said breaking down the creative process.
I put that right there. Yeah.
Power 3.
Love it.
Power 3 is big in compositions for art as well.
Odd numbers work really well.
Yeah. So. I tend to use almost all divisions of 3 in my artwork, which is funny.
Well, for those if someone listening, before we part ways, what are the power? What are the 3 steps? Or
so look and think, plan and create, reflect and share. I mean, that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, it's been, like I said, it goes so fast, and it's been a long while since we chatted.
It has. Yeah. It's been a really long time. So we love that Benihana experience.
That was very fun. It's always meat over food.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and have lots of good friends, and with Jen, and it was good stuff.
That was like meant to be, kind of.
It was. Yeah. I think it was.
It's definitely love connecting with like we talked about earlier. You guys are awesome, and really appreciate you, and love what you all do, and your passion for creativity and for the arts, and you're just promoting it. So keep doing it. Keep doing
it.
Thanks. We appreciate it.
So I mentioned this earlier. So before, like with our last little bit time we have left, but influences, favorite, inspiring, and we this probably we can probably take another hour on this part.
Oh, yeah. Easily, yeah.
So it will be, for the audience, will be brief, but what are your most inspiring favorite? Let's start with the book.
Oh my gosh, book. So right now I'm using this book. Can you grab that one for me right now? Unlocked.
Yeah.
So this book is called Unlocked by Katie White. And it's assessment as the key to everyday creativity in the classroom.
So that subject we were talking about how some teachers are, how do you assess creativity?
I'm coming back to this book right now because I feel like it is more important than ever as we move into possibly hybrid learning, remote learning. I think that there's going to be a lot more creative assessment, and Katie is amazing. So that's my inspirational book right now.
Unlocked by Katie
White.
Katie White.
Right now. Awesome. And then how about movie?
That's Matt's.
Movies. Okay. I mean, of course, as you've made several references to being a kid of the 80s. And I've come across, well, one in particular always sticks out with me, and that's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. As an educator, it's funny because as a kid, I saw it totally different. And then as an educator, I now see, if this kid is trying this hard to not be in class to go to an art museum, we got to do something about education.
Yeah.
We've got to really figure out how to make it worth everyone and see how everyone's understanding is different. But I just actually the other day, thanks to Disney Plus, saw Flight of the Navigator, and that was always a good one. So.
Yeah, my son loved that one. That's a good one too. I remember that one. So, and we chatted a little bit earlier today. So, music, band, artist, song, whichever one. And
we're gonna do it.
We got matching tattoos.
Yeah.
Reasonably.
His is my handwriting and mine is his handwriting.
That's cool.
We did it for our 15th anniversary.
We're big U2 fans. And the line that we got from is the song "One"
by U2.
You got one life,
one love
to do it. So you got to focus on what you are passionate about and really go after it.
I love it.
Do something good in the world.
I love it. And, I asked that question at the end of each show, and I love the insight that all the guests have given about their favorites and inspiring. It's really cool. So I always write down notes because I've got several documentaries and now I've got a book that I need to check out. So
Rattle and Hum.
What's that?
Hopefully you've seen Rattle and Hum.
Yeah, it's on my queue now.
Okay, I mentioned it in a
different documentary, but now I got it on my queue.
You gotta watch Rattle and Hum.
Claudio and I were talking a little earlier, and I couldn't, for the life of me, remember what it was called.
Yeah.
And then you just nailed it off.
Rattle and Hum. Well, because it
is good.
It's amazing.
Well, and being a musician myself too, is I love watching stuff about musicians. So that's
if you like live and odd things as well, I'm a big Bowie fan.
Okay.
And Bowie at the BB is an awesome double CD set that is all about like little outtakes that he's done or live performance he's done on the BBC, and it's really cool. There's a lot of cool covers that he does of other things. So
that's cool. I'll have to check it out. So hey guys, if people want to get a hold of you, where's the best way for them to connect with you?
So I'm pretty much at Grundler Art on everything. But you can find us on Facebook, through our website, which is grundlerart.com. You can find us on our podcast, The Creativity Department, and our hashtag on Twitter is K12ArtChat.
No, we'll have to have you on again because we didn't even touch the podcast like at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I had it up here. I was like, okay, I'm going to ask him about the podcast, but we'll definitely connect again.
I know we will, of course. We love talking with you.
Yeah.
So
appreciate you all. So for those of you watching live, thank you again for catching Creators Lounge once again, the live show. Thank you for my guest. And if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Remember, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Claudio Zavala Jr. Check out my website, iamclaudius.com. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this channel so you can get the updates. And I'd like to thank my sponsors, which I don't have any sponsors. So if you're watching and you want to connect with me, you can be a sponsor of the show.
Awesome.
Have a great night. See you all.
Thanks, Claudio. Bye guys.